All right, welcome back everybody. It's Sunday and it's the first weekend of February and we're out here pruning our scuppernong vines. And everybody that is living in the deep south, it's time for you to prune your scuppernong vines also if you haven't already done it. Stay tuned and I'm going to show you how we do it. All right, as you can see over here, this is a muscadine vine called Ison. It's a purple muscadine, and I went to Ison's nursery and bought this vine about 3 or 4 years ago. On this side, I've already pruned it up. So I want to give you a little demonstration of what a pruned scuppernong vine would look like. But on this side, I'm gonna go ahead and prune some stuff up for you so you can see me in action. We planted our central leader here. We got up between our two wires and we're going to run a central leader down both these wires. We created a fork. We brought 1 leader down this way, 1 leader down this way. Anything that grows on the stalk outside these 2 leaders need to be trimmed off. Every year I end up having these extra vines that will pop out from the central leader there. So we just prune those, get those out of the way. And I always like to start my pruning at the root end of the plant instead of working back to the root end of the plant. It just seems to be able, I can grab it at the base where I know the cut needs to be, and then I can just pull the vine out from there. Let me get on this side. Sometimes it's just easier to work from the outside. So coming over to where this central leader attaches to the wire, I left this one last year and it shot off a little sprig and I got a couple of grapes off that. So what we're going to do is come up, count 2 to 3 buds, 1 bud, 2 bud, 3 buds, and then we're going to snip the rest of that off. We're going to end up actually doing that all the way up this vine. One right here, that's last year's prune. See that? I had a little vine coming off there. I snipped that. I left 2 buds last year, 1 there and 1 there. This vine came off the second bud. So now I'm going to count up 2 buds and do my snip, and then we'll throw the rest of this out. I'll go ahead and apologize to anybody that's watching the audience if you get hit by one of these grapevines. It's just going to happen when you're out here. You go ahead and do this with a good pair of gloves because these vines can be rough on your hands, even for a seasoned person. Go ahead and get that one out of there. I don't like the way that one was going. 2 buds, get that one out of there. 1, 2, get that one out of there. And just start shaping our vine as we go. Come up from last year's cut. See that grape where the grapes grew on that one right there. We're going to come up 2 buds, snip, and we'll get the rest of that vine out of there. We created a little injury right there, but it's above the second bud. We'll go ahead and get that one out of there. Now when you're pruning a vine, the reason you're pruning the vine is if you allow it just to go untrained, whenever you fertilize it, it's going to focus all that energy and all those nutrients on the supporting vines you already have. And you want to refocus the energy that's coming down the vine to produce the max amount of fruit instead of just vines and leaves. So that's why we do our pruning, to make sure that we get the most amount of grapes that the vine has the ability to produce. A 3-year-old vine, just this one vine, I can set out here and it'll probably take me about 20 minutes just to hand prune this one vine. If you look at the commercial industry, when they have their orchards, they have this machine on a tractor and they just go right down and they just trim it with almost like a bush hog type of a trimming. And it doesn't really discriminate each and every cut like hand pruning does. But the commercial growers, they don't have time to go out and hand prune acres and acres of muscadine vines. They just got to get it pruned and move on to the next task. But everything we do here in the backyard is hobby level, so we give it the most attention that we can and try not to shortcut it. Now this black vine, this Ison's purple that is growing this way, down here I have Sweet Jenny, also from Ison's, and it's growing this way. So about halfway right in here of the two vines is where I terminate any of the runners. And I try to keep those runners over there and those runners on that side. Throughout the year they'll run across each other, and I just have to come in, make the cuts, and get those vines on out of there. So we're doing that also, is we're trimming back all those long growth. Some of these vines, you'll get 20 feet of growth just in 1 year if you have a well-fertilized vine. So speaking of fertilize, one of the next things we're going to have to do coming up in the next week or so is this thing's going to start pushing growth. Usually the end of February, the sap is already up and running in these muscadine vines. So before your muscadine vines start pushing sap, you want to go ahead and apply nutrients to the ground and get those good quality nutrients up in your vine, and so you can get good growth. So we're going to get some compost out here. We're going to fertilize compost. We're also going to use some of our C90 minerals. We're going to replenish the ground that may be deficient in nutrients and minerals. So that's one of the things we have coming up in the near future. But right now is the time of the year where you should be doing all your maintenance on your orchard and your vineyards. So if you're a backyard hobbyist living in the deep south, you should probably go ahead and grab your pruners and get work. Go outside and start pruning your stuff also. I started pruning out my apple and pears the other day, mostly to harvest scion wood because it's going to be grafting season soon. So I went ahead and I pruned off all my scion wood, put those into gallon-sized Ziploc bags, and put those into the refrigerator. And so when my rootstock comes in, we'll have all our scion wood ready to go, and the plants won't be pushing new growth, and then we won't be damaging our plants. But if you need to do a corrective pruning on any of your stuff, you can do that in the winter and prune it back pretty aggressively. And I wouldn't recommend you prune back more than 1/3 of your plant. So if you have a big tree, imagine 1/3 of that plant going into correction, and that's all you want to take off. And then you want to give it time to heal, and then you come back and do your correcting prunes also. A lot of people won't be able to get out every year to prune their grapevines, and they're going to need to do some correcting on it. And grapevines is one of those that will get away from you real quick. And so if you need to do some correction pruning, just get out there on your grapevine and just make all the corrections that you want while the plant is dormant and not pushing sap. All right, we're gonna finish up the pruning here. So I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration. And we're just walking our way right down the vine here, and we're just counting up 2 or 3 buds, and we're just making our cuts. So end up, this is what you're looking at over here. Every year, I terminate this vine about right here, halfway of our vine. And off of each one of these nodes, you'll have a cluster of grapes, then you'll have a new vine coming down. See this right here? That was last year's growth. So you'll have at least that much, but then you'll have a cluster of grapes hanging off. So if you have a well-maintained vine, you should have plenty of grapes. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share out on your social media. We thank you.